Hi there, Lance Sketch here, East Central Iowa agronomist for DeKalb and Asgrow. Thanks for joining me as I talk about harvest priorities and the weather patterns we have and the variability that we're going to see this year and the challenge it might be with selecting which fields to go to first when we're out there harvesting. I have been receiving calls asking about which products should be prioritized for harvest first, and if we had any quick reference sheets to help simplify the way to decide which fields to go to first based on a rating of which products have better roots or stalks or anything in between. I first attempted to create a quick reference harvest sheet that would be utilized to help categorize maybe in 3 different categories of products based on roots and stalks, anthracnose stalk rot, fusarium crown rot, and that type of thing. But the challenge is that becomes pretty simplistic. And if we look at what happened here in Iowa this year, we're very, very dry. And if you look here on the eastern part of the state, you may notice that we are about 10 to 17 inches behind normal rainfall. So this not only had a significant impact on yield, but we're also seeing that the variability in rainfall has had an impact on late season standability, which we're going to see more of here over the next several weeks. So if you notice here in this next image, we are at 128 out of 131 years for rainfall, which means that we are at the 4th driest year on record. So out of 131 years of weather data, it appears that we are the driest area in the United States compared to normal rainfall. So this is a challenge for us, not only for yield again, but for late season standability. Our products could have some challenges. And this can be very dependent on soil type too. So this next image here shows the different soil types or regions that exist within the state of Iowa. So in Iowa, we have about 450 soil types, but these can be broken down into 22 different soil regions by the USDA. And if you look at eastern Iowa, we have tons of different soil types within a small area. So coincidentally, the areas that received the least amount of rainfall are also the same areas that have the most diverse soil types. So this means that we're likely going to see a greater variability in yield and agronomic performance, which includes late season standability, in just a small area. So you could be in the same field and have yield variability that is drastic throughout the field, and those might follow similar lines to the soil types that exist within that area or that farm. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of variability not only due to rainfall and soil types, but it's also important to keep in mind the hybrid maturity. The earlier maturing hybrids, of course, are going to mature quicker and probably be ready to harvest sooner. So it's important to keep that in mind. Some of the earlier maturing hybrids may have a great set of agronomic characteristics, including great roots, great stalks, great late season harvest appearance, and great anthracnose stalk ratings, etc. But because of the maturity being earlier, we may prioritize those fields to be harvested sooner while the other fields are still drying down. I do think it's important, though, that we begin harvest on some later maturity hybrids that have more ratings that are a little bit more suspect for standability. And I think that prime moisture might be in the mid 20% to start pulling those hybrids out to make sure that we're not caught in a spot where there's a windstorm that comes through and causes those hybrids to start leaning or falling over. And there's going to be additional local management practices that could be factors that influences the prioritization of harvest. And that could be applications of fungicide. I've worked with lots of farmers this year who have done 2 or even 3 fungicide applications, which is for some people maybe even strange in such a dry year. But we've found that the fungicide applications have done a very good job at keeping that plant healthier, a lot longer, even in a drought year when we had an absence of disease. And it has been shown through many studies that there are many plant physiological benefits to having a fungicide applied even in a drought year due to the reduced stomatal conductance, which improves the water use efficiency. It may not always be profitable. It depends on the markets, but we have found better agronomic and yield improvements when a fungicide is applied. Additionally, there are some differences that could be occurring locally depending on local management practices like fertility. How high is the fertility in certain areas of your neighborhood or certain farms or within certain fields of certain farms. Tillage practices can also make a difference in standability due to the ability of nutrients to break down through mineralization. With tillage, we have improved levels of aeration, and that can cause mineralization to happen quicker, which would allow the fertility to be available more quickly. Also, with tillage, depending on what type of implement was used, could have caused the soil to dry out quicker and may have been a more challenging start early on. So we have seen some variability in emergence due to tillage this year because it was so dry. So in summary here, we're going to have a lot of differences happening in the field this year due to the variability in rainfall, differences in soil types, hybrid maturities, and agronomic characteristics, and then the local management practices. So it's important this year, more than any other year that I've been around, is to go out and do some quick checks in the field. Just step in the field in a few rows and do some push tests or pinch tests. Push on those or squeeze on those lower nodes, the internodes, and see if it's spongy or if it's firm. The areas that have some sponginess to them should be prioritized, because if we have one bad storm that comes through here in the next few weeks, it could cause a lot of additional work for us if we have to start harvesting hybrids that are leaning or falling over, and no one likes to harvest a cornfield going one direction.